What survival myths are complete nonsense and can do great harm? I remember hearing the myth that moss always grows on the north side of the tree. Of course, that's not true. Yep, it's peculiar to literally a few species of moss. If you ever find yourself in a place where snakes live, turn in as much noise as possible. Most people, when trying to avoid contact with a snake, act quietly and carefully. Although snakes are more afraid of you than you are of them. Stomp loudly, speak in raised tones, but cautiously look out for snakes that don't want you around. Really speaking as a resident of the Louisiana swamps. Loud noises deter most potential threats. If you make noise, you might not even know someone was crawling near you. Follow the birds to find water. I wouldn't count on it because birds may just be looking for a place to sleep. You have to follow the fish to find water. I've always heard different. If you're lost at sea, follow the birds to find land. And that advice actually works. You don't have to wait 24 hours if someone is lost. If you think someone is missing, report it right away. The sooner you do that, the better the chances are that he will be found, especially if it involves children. In the first 24 hours, missing children are the most at risk, especially if abduction is involved. By the way, in some states, if you don't report a child missing for some length of time, you can be criminally prosecuted. Modified, Kelly's Law. You can't suck the snake poison out, it often only makes things worse. I work as a doctor in Australia. Let me be clear on this subject. In the case of a bite, you have to stop the spread of venom from the bite site into the lymphatic system and then into the bloodstream. You don't need to suck it out, wash, cut, or else experiment with the wound somehow. Modified. Don't try to catch or kill a snake to identify it. It's an unnecessary risk that's not worth it. Here's what to do. Point 1. Step away from the snake. Point 2. Call an ambulance. Point 3. Don't move. Muscle movement will cause the fluids in your body to move faster and the venom to get into your bloodstream sooner. Keep the sting site below your heart if possible. But most importantly, don't move. Point 4. If there is someone nearby, ask them to give you a good squeeze on a bitten limb. This will greatly slow down your lymphatic system and buy you a few hours. Taking a bullet out in the field is much more dangerous than leaving it inside. If you try to pull it out, it could damage vital organs or enter even deeper. It could also lead to death from loss of blood. It turns out that forging it out with a rusty knife and taping the wound up won't cure me. Far Cry lied to us. Right, there's absolutely no point in picking at the wound with pliers and trying to get the bullet out. The only goal in a situation like this is to control blood loss and avoid infection as much as possible. I would like to add that the same applies to knives and other sharp objects. If you are stabbed with a knife, under no circumstances, try to remove it. Call 911, gently wrap some kind of cloth over the wound, and do not touch the knife. The same goes for glass and any sharp debris. Wait for the professionals to come and do it themselves. A mistake that all lost people make. The first thing they do is look for food and water, although they need to provide warmth and dry shelter first. Modified. When I speak of shelter, I mean fire too. When you're wet, being outside, your body temperature can drop quickly, leading to hypothermia. Plus, your body will use up a lot more calories than usual. Another important reason why you should build yourself a shelter. To avoid being on the ground all the time, the ground constantly takes up heat, and that means that your body temperature will drop, and you'll be less able to stand the cold or the bad weather. I agree that living near the water is great, but you must remember that being near rivers, lakes, springs, and oceans is always much colder. Be sure to make sure you have the materials on hand to make a fire shelter. I feel like I just wrote the book. Right order: shelter, water, food. If you need to survive in winter, you should not eat snow to make up for the lack of water. The potential heat loss from eating snow is far more dangerous than dehydration. Warm the snow first in some container, or let it melt so you don't lose so much heat. If you need to get food, don't mess with mushrooms at all. Better look for berries and nuts, because the chances of finding edible mushrooms are pretty slim. What's more, they contain quite a few calories. So even if you're good at mushrooms, it's still not worth it. Unless you live in a place where there are a shitload of mushrooms, and you're really good at them. If you're about to have an accident, try to relax your body completely. You'll have a better chance of getting away with minor bruises. That's why drunks often survive pretty serious accidents. I heard a story about a guy who got into a tornado. Before it sucked him, some kind of vase flew into his face and the dude lost consciousness. The tornado ended up throwing him out 3 kilometers away from the scene. The dude survived and got away with only minor bruises and abrasions. There is a myth that you can drink water from cacti. I have heard that this is complete nonsense and that you can only drink from certain rare species. In other cases, you're in for some unfortunate health consequences. The myth is that herbivores are peaceful, friendly animals, so you can safely be around them and use them for finding food. Seriously? Any angry animal, from cows to deer, can kill you. If you're in the wild, you shouldn't approach large wild animals at all. Herbivores are often much more aggressive than predators. If you're attacked by a predator, there's a very high chance that you can scare it off, especially if it's smaller than you, because it's just looking for food. But if you are attacked by a herbivore, though, you're finished, because its goal is to get rid of you. It is said that the rabbit runs faster and fights harder than the fox, because the rabbit fights for its life, while the fox fights for its dinner. Never stand in a doorway during an earthquake. The door and door frames are not made of the best quality these days. So in a situation like this, you can get pretty seriously injured. Better yet, hide under the table. I was trying to move my desk the other day. It fell apart right in my hands. These days, it's not just doors that are made pretty crappy. I recently read an interesting fact that in the 40s, a fire from one room to another took about 7 minutes. Now, because furniture is cheaper and less dense materials are used, it takes about 50 seconds. Drinking alcohol to keep you warm. No, that will only make you sweat more. The blood will get to your skin faster and you'll freeze to death much quicker. Cotton absorbs moisture. Cotton is probably the worst material to wear in situations where you have to survive outside. It retains moisture, which means that such clothing can't keep a person warm. Almost everything Bear Grylls does in his broadcasts. If a diabetic has hypoglycemia and faints, he does not need to be given insulin. He needs to get his sugar levels up. Injecting insulin will do exactly the opposite. I hate the media for giving the false impression that diabetics need an injection in every situation. The myth that humans can eat what animals eat. Untrue. An animal's digestive system can be drastically different from a human's. I've heard that we're not allowed to eat what birds eat in nature, but we can eat what bears eat, although it doesn't help much if you have a lot of bears around you. There is one myth that comes up all the time in old movies. If you're stranded in the wilderness, save the rest of your water. You really shouldn't do that. If you drink just a little bit at a time just to quench your thirst, that amount of water will not be enough to get it to your vital organs. This will lead to the fact that even though you won't feel thirsty, your body will still be encumbered. It's best to drink water at regular intervals, and it doesn't matter if you feel thirsty or not. And you should not drink all the water at once either, because for your body, such an amount of water will be unusual, and it will not be able to use all the water for its intended purpose. So it is better to distribute water evenly throughout the day. Many people think that in order to save themselves from a wolf attack, you have to crouch down and show the wolf that you obey him and pose no threat. If you do that, you are finished 100% of the time. The best thing you can do is walk away from the wolf without turning your back on it and keeping your eyes on it. If you turn back, the wolf will immediately instinctively pounce on you. But you don't have to make loud noises or behave aggressively, same as how you would do it with a black bear. Because wolves don't see it as a threat, they see it as a challenge. Wait, wouldn't he consider it aggressive if someone looked him straight into the eyes? He would. So you don't have to look him straight into the eyes. You have peripheral vision, don't you? Lower your gaze, step back a little bit and listen to what's going on behind you, because the wolf you see is not the wolf to worry about. I want to say that this is all quite inconsequential because wolves very rarely attack people. In the history of North America, there have only been 2 recorded fatalities related to wolves attacking people. If you find yourself in the vicinity of a tornado, the worst thing you can do is try to run away from it. Better yet, find shelter by hiding somewhere underground, either in the very deep of a house or lie down in some trench and cover your head with your arms. Tornado. They're like angry 3-year-olds, only they don't throw toys. They throw cars, buses, and trains. So during a tornado, it is definitely not a good idea to hide in vehicles. Pretend to be dead when encountering a bear works only in certain cases. If you encounter a grizzly, act confident and back away slowly. If he is annoyed, assume a baby pose, cover your neck and pretend to be dead. If you encounter a black bear, throw rocks and sticks at him and try to make a lot of noise. I will tell you from personal experience that black bears are quite skittish and usually run away. Polar bears. Move slowly away from them. If you are attacked, defend yourself by any means. There used to be a retarded post on Facebook that said if you had a heart attack, you could eat a spoonful of cayenne pepper and it would go right away. That's exactly what it said. The heart attack would go away instantly. In reality, it will only result in you not only dying of a heart attack, but also choking on hot peppers. Under no circumstances should you eat it. Just call an ambulance. That's what we exist for. I first wanted to post a link to the site that started this myth, but now I've changed my mind because I don't want to advertise resources that spread this kind of harmful information. If you want, you can find all this nonsense on your own. By the way, here is one excerpt from this page. Cayenne pepper increases the heart rate, and therefore the speed of the heart. You don't have to speed up the heartbeat. If you have a heart attack, you have to do just the opposite. If you fall off a ship or a ferry and by some miracle you are spotted in the water, there is no need to swim to your rescuers. The more you swim, the less likely you are to survive. Just save your strength and body heat, and stay on the surface of the water while the rescue team does what it has to do. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below the video, write down which survival myths are complete nonsense and can do a lot of harm. And don't forget to watch our other episodes. That's it. Bye-bye.